The silverware rattled when my mother's hand slammed the dining table. My father sat across from me, staring at Jack like he was something dirty someone tracked in from outside. My brother smirked from the corner, enjoying every second of this. My father's voice cut through the silence like broken glass. "A mechanic," he said, his lips curling around the word like it tasted bad. "You're throwing away the Michael name for a man who works with his hands in grease-stained clothes." My mother looked at Jack like he carried a disease. I felt Jack's hand tighten around mine under the table. I opened my mouth to defend him, but my father stood up, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "If you walk out that door with him, Emma, don't ever come back. You're no longer my daughter." My throat went dry. The room felt smaller, the air thicker. I looked at Jack. His eyes were steady, calm, waiting for my choice. I stood up slowly, my legs shaking. My hand found his. "Then I guess this isn't my home anymore." The door slammed behind us, and that sound became the heartbeat of everything that came after. My name is Emma Michael, and I used to think family meant forever. I grew up in a house where image mattered more than truth, where the neighbors' opinions shaped our dinner conversations, where being a Michael meant being perfect. My parents built their entire lives around reputation. My father was a corporate consultant who wore expensive suits and talked about important clients. My mother volunteered at charity events and made sure everyone saw her doing it. My brother followed their path exactly, marrying the right woman, taking the right job, living in the right neighborhood. I was supposed to do the same. I became a nurse because it looked good, worked at the best hospital because it impressed people, and dated men my mother approved of because it kept peace. For 29 years, I was the good daughter. I smiled in family photos. I laughed at my father's jokes. I pretended not to notice how cold our house felt. Then I met Jack, and everything my family built started to crack. I didn't know love could cost me my entire bloodline. My car died on a Tuesday evening outside a small diner on Route 47. Steam poured from under the hood, and I sat there staring at it, completely lost. I knew nothing about cars. I called my father first, but he was in a meeting. My brother didn't answer. I was about to call a tow company when someone knocked on my window. Jack stood there in work pants and a flannel shirt, grease under his fingernails, concern in his eyes. "Your car's crying for attention," he said with a small smile. "Mind if I take a look?" He fixed it right there in the parking lot, refused payment, and we ended up talking for 3 hours in that diner. He made me laugh about things that weren't even funny. He listened when I talked, really listened, not just waiting for his turn to speak. He told me about his auto shop, his dreams of expanding, his parents who passed away when he was young. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. Not as Emma Michael, perfect daughter. Just as Emma, a woman who could finally breathe. When I drove home that night, my heart was louder than my engine. I brought Jack home 3 weeks later. My mother opened the door wearing her pearl necklace in judgment. My father stood in the living room like he was inspecting a job applicant. They looked Jack up and down, cataloging every detail that didn't fit their world. We sat in the formal living room that nobody actually used. My mother served tea in china cups that cost more than Jack's weekly salary. My father asked questions designed to embarrass. "So, Jack, do you plan to stay a mechanic forever?" The way he said mechanic made it sound like criminal. My cheeks burned. Jack stayed calm, his voice steady. "It's honest work, sir. I fix things that are broken. I find that meaningful." My mother's smile didn't reach her eyes. "How nice," she said, and I could hear everything she wasn't saying. After Jack left, my father pulled me aside in the hallway. His voice was low, controlled. "You can do better, Emma. Much better. Don't embarrass this family." I felt something break inside me that night, something that would never quite heal. I refused to hide Jack. We kept seeing each other, and my family's disapproval grew louder. My mother called every day with the same message, variations on "you're throwing your future away." My father sent articles about successful doctors and lawyers, men I should be dating instead. My brother told me I was being naive, that I'd regret marrying beneath our station. Their words felt like stones, small at first, then heavy enough to bury me. I stopped answering their calls. I stopped going to Sunday dinners. Jack and I built something away from their judgment, away from their cold, perfect world. We went to cheap restaurants and laughed too loud. We watched sunsets from the hood of his truck. We talked about dreams that had nothing to do with impressing strangers. Then one afternoon, my mother showed up at the hospital where I worked. She stood in the lobby in her expensive coat, looking completely out of place among the sick and hurting. "Emma," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut. "If you marry that man, don't expect us at your wedding. Don't expect anything from us again." The dinner happened 6 months after I met Jack. My parents insisted on one final conversation, one last chance for me to see sense. I agreed because part of me hoped they'd finally understand. That hope died in the first 10 minutes. We sat at their mahogany dining table, the one they bought to impress guests. My father carved the roast like he was performing surgery. My mother passed dishes with mechanical precision. My brother brought his wife, and they watched like this was entertainment. My father started first. "Jack, my daughter could have married a surgeon. Instead, she's choosing someone who barely finished community college." Jack's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet. My brother laughed. "Come on, Emma. You're really going to throw away everything for someone who changes oil for a living?" My mother added, "We raised you better than this." I felt rage building in my chest, hot and bright. "You raised me to be afraid," I said. "Afraid of what people think, afraid of being real, afraid of anything that doesn't fit your perfect picture." My father's face turned red. "Get out," he said. "Both of you. If you walk out that door with him, you're no longer my daughter." I stood, trembling but sure. "Good." Outside, Jack whispered, "We'll build our own family." The first year was hard. My family cut me off completely. No calls, no birthday cards, no acknowledgement I existed. My paycheck barely covered rent on our small apartment. Jack worked 12-hour days at his shop, coming home exhausted, grease permanently under his nails. I picked up extra shifts at the hospital, working nights and weekends. We ate ramen and rice, saved every dollar, dreamed in the spaces between exhaustion. My mother once told me I'd come crawling back within months. She was wrong. I was broke, tired, and completely free. For the first time in my life, I made choices without wondering what my family would think. I laughed without measuring the sound. I cried without hiding the tears. Jack and I were building something real, something that didn't need approval from people who valued appearances over love. We were broke, sleeping on a mattress on the floor, but I was finally, completely myself. That freedom felt better than anything my family's money could buy. We were broke, but for once, I was free. 3 months after I moved out, I almost lost my job. My supervisor called me into her office with a strange expression. She asked if I was having problems at home, if there were legal issues I needed to disclose. I was confused until she explained. Someone had called the hospital claiming Jack had criminal friends, that dangerous people were visiting me at work, that I was unreliable and distracted. My supervisor didn't believe it, but she had to investigate. It took me exactly 10 seconds to realize who made that call. My father. He didn't just disown me. He tried to destroy me. I felt sick. The family that raised me, that claimed to love me, was actively working to ruin my life because I chose wrong in their eyes. That night, I sat on our apartment floor and cried until my throat hurt. Jack held me without saying anything. When I finally stopped, I felt something shift inside me. The last thread of connection, the last tiny hope for reconciliation, snapped. They weren't just disappointed. They were cruel. And I was done trying to earn love from people who didn't know what it meant. That's when I realized they didn't just disown me. They wanted to destroy me. I wrote them a letter. Not begging, not angry, just done. I explained that I was choosing peace over their approval, that I was building a life they'd never understand, that I wouldn't keep banging on a door they'd locked from the inside. I didn't cry writing it. I felt calm, clear, resolved. I mailed it on a Tuesday morning before my shift. I never got a response. I didn't expect one. That night, Jack and I sat on our small balcony eating takeout from foam containers. The city lights spread out below us, and I felt lighter than I had in months. I'm done, I told him. Really done. He squeezed my hand. Good. We made a decision that night. We'd stop letting them live in our heads. We'd build something so good, so real, that one day they'd understand what they lost. We'd succeed not to prove them wrong, but to prove ourselves right. Success wouldn't be about money or status. It would be about building a life we actually wanted to live. That night, Jack and I decided we'd build something they'd regret losing. Jack's skill caught attention. One satisfied customer told another. Then another. His small shop started getting busier. People drove across town because Jack was honest, thorough, and fair. He never overcharged. He explained everything in plain language. He treated every car like it mattered. I helped manage the business side. I learned accounting from YouTube videos, designed a simple logo on free software, registered the business properly. I organized his files, tracked expenses, handled customer calls when he was working. Jack Michael's auto repair grew from a one-man garage into something bigger. We hired our first employee after 18 months. Then a second. We moved to a larger space with actual equipment, proper lighting, a waiting room with coffee and magazines. People started leaving reviews online. Good ones. Jack's reputation spread. We still lived small, saved everything we earned, but we were building something real. I watched him work and saw what my family never could. They saw grease-stained clothes. I saw dedication, skill, integrity. Success tastes better when they said you'd fail. We married on a Saturday in early spring. Not in a church with hundreds of guests, but in a small park with 12 people who actually loved us. My parents sent no message. My mother didn't call. My brother pretended I didn't exist. I wore a simple white dress from a consignment shop that cost $30. Jack wore the suit he'd bought for job interviews years ago. Our friend Taylor, who worked at Jack's shop, officiated using a license he got online. We exchanged rings we bought together, nothing expensive, just solid bands that meant forever. I cried during the vows, but they were good tears. Jack's voice shook when he promised to stand beside me always. I promised the same. No fancy reception, no elaborate cake, no choreographed dances. We had pizza and beer in the park. We laughed until our stomachs hurt. We danced to music from someone's phone speaker. It was perfect. As I said I do, I realized something that made me smile through tears. I wasn't losing a family. I was gaining peace. The next 3 years passed quietly. Jack's business kept growing. We bought a small house with a yard. Nothing fancy, but ours. I got promoted at the hospital, started teaching new nurses. We adopted a dog we named Buddy who slept between us every night. We took vacations to places my parents would have called common. We built friendships with people who valued character over credentials. I sent my parents Christmas cards every year. They never responded. I didn't expect them to. Honestly, I'd stopped thinking about them much. My life was full without their approval. I had a husband who loved me, work that mattered, a home that felt warm. Sometimes I'd drive past their neighborhood and feel nothing. No anger, no sadness, just distance. I thought I'd never hear from them again. That chapter had closed, and I'd written a better story. Life moved forward, and they weren't in it. I was okay with that. More than okay. I thought I'd never hear from them again. I was wrong. The call came on a Tuesday morning in November. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Emma? My mother's voice sounded different. Smaller. Scared. It's me. I stood in my kitchen, coffee cup frozen halfway to my mouth. 3 years of silence, and now this. What do you want? I asked. She took a shaky breath. Your father's sick. It's his kidneys. They're failing. I felt my stomach drop. I'm sorry to hear that. Emma, please. The doctors tested everyone. Your brother isn't a match. I'm not compatible. You're his only chance. I gripped the counter. What are you asking me? We need you to get tested. To see if you're a donor match. Please, Emma. He's dying. I closed my eyes. The same man who called my husband a disgrace, who tried to destroy my career, who told me I was no longer his daughter. That man now needed my blood. I froze. The same man who disowned me now needed my blood. My mother asked me to meet her 2 days later. I chose the location, a small diner across town from where I grew up. Neutral ground. She arrived 10 minutes late, looking older than I remembered. Gray streaked through her perfect hair. Her clothes hung looser. Fear had changed her face. We sat across from each other in a torn vinyl booth. She ordered nothing. I ordered coffee I didn't drink. Your father's on dialysis 3 times a week, she said. The doctors say without a transplant, he has maybe 2 years. Less if his health declines. I nodded, listening. You're the only match, Emma. You're his only chance. She reached across the table for my hand. I moved it. Please, she whispered. I know we haven't spoken. I know we hurt you. But he's your father. Whatever happened between us, he doesn't deserve to die. I studied her face. For the first time, I saw fear instead of pride. Desperation instead of judgment. She looked vulnerable, human, breakable. For the first time, I saw fear, not pride, in her eyes. I told Jack that night. We sat on our back porch, watching Buddy chase squirrels in the fading light. They want you to save him, Jack said quietly. It wasn't a question. My mother's terrified. I've never seen her like that. Jack was silent for a long time. Finally, he turned to me. What do you want to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to refuse, to let them feel what abandonment costs. But another part. I trailed off. Another part remembers he's still your father, Jack finished. I nodded. I'm angry, Jack. So angry. But I'm not cruel. No, he agreed. You're not. That's why this is hard. He took my hand. Do what brings you peace, Emma. Not what they deserve. What brings you peace? His calmness gave me clarity. He wasn't pushing either direction. He was simply standing beside me, supporting whatever I chose. I loved him for that. I don't know what peace means anymore, I admitted. Jack pulled me close. Then take your time figuring it out. Peace? I wasn't sure what that meant anymore. I visited my father 3 days later. The hospital was different from mine, bigger, colder. My mother met me in the lobby, gratitude and desperation in her eyes. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. His room is on the 4th floor, she said. I rode the elevator alone. My father looked smaller in the hospital bed. Tubes ran from his arms. Machines beeped steadily. His skin had a gray tint. He was 63 but looked 80. He opened his eyes when I walked in. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Emma, he finally said. His voice was weaker than I remembered. I sat in the chair by the window, keeping distance between us. You look tired, he said. Marriage hard? I almost laughed. Even now, dying, he couldn't resist. Not as hard as being disowned, I replied calmly. His jaw tightened. Your mother says you might help. She asked. I haven't decided. I'm your father. Are you? I asked. Because 3 years ago, you said I wasn't your daughter anymore. He looked away. Emma, I stood. I'm not here for apologies you don't mean. I came because my mother asked. I walked out before he could respond. Days passed. Then a week. My family waited for my decision. I gave them silence. Not cruel silence. Strategic silence. I kept working my shifts at the hospital, coming home to Jack, taking Buddy for walks. I baked cookies. I read books. I lived my life. My mother called twice. I didn't answer. My brother left a voicemail. I deleted it. The power dynamic had shifted completely. For 3 years, they'd had control. They chose silence. They controlled access. They held all the power. Now I did. They were the ones waiting, hoping, desperate for my response. I wasn't being vindictive. I was being careful. This decision would shape everything going forward. I needed to make it from a place of clarity, not manipulation. Not guilt, not obligation, not family pressure. My choice. My terms. My timeline. Jack never asked what I'd decided. He trusted me to know when I was ready. Silence became my sweetest revenge. My brother called on a Thursday evening. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Emma, he said. His voice had an edge to it. Impatience poorly disguised as concern. You need to decide. Dad's getting worse. I'm aware. This isn't a game. He could die. I know what's at stake. Silence. Then, they'll pay you, Emma. Whatever you want. Name your price. I felt anger flash hot in my chest. Money was never what you took from me, I said coldly. He didn't respond immediately. Then what do you want? For you to understand what you did. All of you. We were trying to protect you. No, I interrupted. You were protecting yourselves. Your image. Your comfortable world where everyone fits in neat little boxes. Emma, you called my husband a disgrace. You tried to ruin my career. You erased me from family photos. And now you want to buy my forgiveness with money? My brother was quiet. I can't help you understand something you're not ready to see, I said. Then I hung up. He hung up, humiliated. I invited my mother and brother to my office at the hospital. They arrived together, looking nervous, out of place. I'd arranged chairs across from my desk. They sat. I remained standing. From my desk drawer, I pulled out a folder. Inside were printed copies of everything. The voicemail my father left at my hospital claiming I was unreliable. Screenshots of texts my brother sent to mutual friends, spreading lies about Jack. Photos my mother removed me from, posted online as if I'd never existed. A copy of the Christmas card I sent them, returned to sender. I laid each piece on the desk between us. One by one. Evidence in black and white. My mother's face crumbled. My brother looked away. This isn't anger, I said quietly. This is accountability. You need to see what you did. Not what you think you did. Not the story you tell yourselves. What actually happened. My mother reached for the papers with shaking hands. She read the messages my brother sent, her face paling. I didn't know, she whispered. Yes, you did, I replied. This isn't anger. It's accountability. My mother broke first. Tears streamed down her face, smudging her perfect makeup. We were just trying to protect you, she sobbed. I'd heard those words before. They used to make me doubt myself. Not anymore. Protect me from what? I asked. From happiness? From a man who treats me with respect? From a life I actually chose? From making a mistake, my brother said. He wasn't good enough for you. Based on what? I challenged. His job? His bank account? Did you ever ask if he was kind? If he made me laugh? If he stood beside me when the world got hard? They had no answer. You weren't protecting me, I continued. You were protecting your image. You couldn't stand that your daughter chose her own path. That she didn't need your approval to be happy. My mother wept harder. We were wrong. We see that now. You were protecting your image, I said firmly. Not your daughter. For once, they had nothing to say. I made my decision that night. Alone in my office at home, I pulled out the hospital consent forms. My hand hesitated over the signature line. This wasn't about forgiveness. It wasn't about reconciliation. It was about who I wanted to be when this was over. I could let my father die. Let them live with that guilt. Let revenge taste bitter and permanent. Or I could do something else. Something harder. I could give them a gift they didn't deserve, couldn't repay, and would never fully understand. I could save him not because he earned it, but because I wasn't cruel. Because love, real love, exists outside transactions. Because mercy is more powerful than revenge. I signed the forms. But I made one change. Under donor type, I checked anonymous. I scheduled the surgery, went through testing, made all the arrangements. I told no one. Not Jack. Not my coworkers. No one. They'll never know what I did next. The surgery was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I told Jack I had a medical conference in another city. He believed me because I'd never lied before. My mother called every few days, begging for an answer. I gave her nothing. The surgical team knew I wanted complete anonymity. No names on charts, no information shared. I donated my kidney to save my father's life, and he would never know it was me. I woke up after surgery in recovery, feeling hollow and sore. The nurse told me everything went perfectly. My kidney was already functioning in the recipient. My father would live. I stayed in the hospital 2 days, then went home, told Jack I caught a virus at the conference. He made me soup and worried over me. The transplant team called my mother to tell them they'd found a match. Anonymous donor. Perfect compatibility. My father woke up after surgery, alive. The doctor said, "You were lucky." An anonymous donor was a perfect match. My mother sobbed in relief. I watched from the hallway, unseen. 3 weeks later, a letter arrived. Expensive stationery, my mother's perfect handwriting. Emma, we know it was you. The timing, the match, everything. Please come home. Let us thank you. Let us make this right. I read it twice. Then I walked to the kitchen sink, held it over the flame from the stove, and watched it burn. The paper curled and blackened. The words disappeared into ash. Jack walked in, saw me watching paper burn. Everything okay? He asked. Everything's fine, I said. And I meant it. I didn't want their thanks. I didn't want reconciliation built on guilt. I wanted them to live with this. To know someone they threw away loved them enough to save them. To wrestle with that truth every day. That was enough. That was everything. My father would heal. My mother would stop crying. Life would go on. And they would never escape the knowledge that the daughter they discarded had more heart than they ever did. They finally realized what love costs. 6 months passed. My family sent more letters. I burned them all. They showed up at Jack's shop once. He politely asked them to leave. They tried calling the hospital. I blocked their numbers. I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting my peace. Jack and I kept building. We opened a second shop across town. Business was thriving. My father recovered fully, back to his life, never knowing whose kidney kept him alive. I saw him once from a distance, at a grocery store. He looked healthy. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness. Just quiet indifference. At home, my life bloomed. Jack and I started trying for a baby. I got promoted again. We renovated our kitchen. We took a trip to the mountains. We laughed more than we cried. We built a life that didn't need validation from people who never understood us. One evening, Jack asked if I'd ever tell them the truth. I smiled. They already know the truth. They just have to live with it now. Maybe justice doesn't need applause. I drove past my parents' house one Sunday afternoon. A for sale sign stood in the front yard. Windows dark. Grass overgrown. They were leaving, downsizing, moving somewhere smaller. Starting over in their own way. I didn't stop. Didn't slow down. Just kept driving. In the back seat, my 3-month-old daughter slept peacefully in her car seat. Mia. We'd named her after Jack's mother. She had his eyes and my determination. Jack reached over and squeezed my hand. "You okay?" he asked. I looked in the rearview mirror at our sleeping daughter, then at my husband, then at the road ahead. "I'm better than okay," I whispered. My parents threw me out to protect their name. Now they'd live every day knowing mine. They'd wake up remembering the daughter they lost saved the father who rejected her. They'd carry that weight forever. I drove past their old house one final time. They threw me out to protect their name, I whispered to sleeping Mia. Now they'll live remembering mine. Forgiveness isn't weakness. It's the most expensive gift you can give to those who betrayed you.